Hello everybody, my name is Tandris Humble. Welcome to The Slide. Today I just wanted to talk about a little phrase, amor fati, and why that phrase has given me so much clarity in my life. Now, amor fati is known in Latin as to love one's fate, and I believe it was coined by a certain Friedrich Nietzsche sometime in the 1880s, and the purpose of the phrase is to enjoy whatever happens to you, no matter what it is. And this relates a little bit to the other phrase, the other Latin phrase, memento mori. And memento mori means remember your death. Don't forget your death. And that is something on my mind quite constantly, because death is, we know it's there, but most people push it to the back of their minds because it's scary. Dying is extremely scary. But I've noticed that the more you accept it and the more you ponder it, the end of existence, the end of forever, you get a clarity about the here and now. And life in itself is, of course, a mystery, but there are so many risks to take. And of course, there are risks which might provoke your death. But aside from, say, going to a dangerous country or a dangerous neighborhood and, attracting attention to yourself, there are other things which don't really put any risk at all, such as going to a party and talking to new people and introducing yourself, or talking to a girl you find really cute, for example. And this is another thing that I have really been pondering for a long time. The whole, people are afraid of going on the internet and putting themselves out there and not having the confidence to just be. And if you just allow yourself to explore a little bit and find all the things that you don't like about yourself and see that other people are reacting to it in a certain way, you'll obviously change. And the moment you get over that little hurdle, things are a lot better. I've noticed this in my own life, where when I was 13, 14, 15, I was extremely anxious. In 16, 17, 18, I was a little bit more confident. It was a sort of a faux confidence because I just wanted to fake it till I make it. And then after that, I found myself to be kind of cringe. And so from 19, 20 to 21, I kind of became a different person. And then again, 22, 23, 24, I'm always looking at my past self, like, how can I grow? How can I get better? And when I hear somebody say that they've wasted their life, that there are things that they wish they had done, I feel really terrible for them, since death is always there. It's inevitable. And I see that as this sort of time limit that we all have to face. I remember the first time I started discussing death with the people around me. And a good friend of mine named Clarence, I don't know if Clarence is probably not watching this, but I remember Clarence gave me this piece of advice. It was in the art room at our school back in Milwaukee. And he told me that you should look at death as a motivator, something that allows you to embrace the here and the now, that every action that you take, everything that you do really does matter. Even the breakfast and the dinner, all the little tiny decisions are a permanent marker of what your life is. And to recognize it as a permanent marker will mean that other decisions that you make moving forward will be taken with such consideration. And that's something that I really want more people to understand, because there's really nothing to be afraid of as long as you're the one affirming your existence. And I know people who fret about, not being liked, or they're not popular. They'll never achieve a certain social status that they want. And it's not that I don't get it, but there's this freedom I really want you all to experience, because you all have it inside of you. A freedom where you are no longer bound by the chains of social pressure. Because social pressure, in the end, if you get to your deathbed, 70 or 80 years old, and you're like, damn, I spent my entire life for other people, that's a horrible fucking reality to have to face. I said this before in this conversation I'm having with you all. It's a month-long conversation where if I were to die tomorrow, I don't think I'd be really upset with my with how my life turned out. I put everything forward, and I always thought, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Someone doesn't like me. It doesn't matter. That person can go fuck themselves. I'm going to die. I have to think about this. If I don't use this moment properly, then what is my life? So what if he doesn't like me? So what if I'm getting a critique? How can I turn this into something where it affirms my existence? Whatever critique comes my way, if I do end up listening to it, how do I make it positive? If somebody is giving you a problem, I mean, you could think of it as, well, I'm living rent-free in that person's head, whatever, it's their problem. And that was the mindset that I took for the longest time. And I want everybody else to really think about dying, but not in a negative way, but rather the more death that is in your mind, the more that it sits with you and the more that you mull it over, the more you understand the importance of life here and now. And another thing that I'm learning here in Japan is, like, I'm so far away from my parents, right? I haven't seen my parents in such a long time, and I'm aging, they're aging. I don't see them very often, and my mother calls me here and there asking me how I am. My father, encourages me, and they're both extremely loving people, and I feel horrible that I'm not always with them. And it's like, I guess I'm not trying to contradict myself or anything, but I do call them as often as I can. And you have to basically weigh all of the options that you have in front of you. What do you want to do with your life? What is it? Are you going to regret this? If you're going to regret it, don't do it. Don't allow yourself to feel resentment towards the past or somebody else who never allowed you to take an opportunity that would have otherwise been very good for you, would have otherwise propelled you in the right direction in your life. And with my parents, I love my mother and I love my father. But on the other hand, I'm in a time in my life when I need to focus on my own artistry, my own creativity. And this is what I personally value. And I used to focus a lot on, like, what is true and what is right and what is wrong. And we can have conversations like this at the end of the day. But in the meantime, in the material world, I kind of think of everyone's understanding of right and wrong as a complete expression of that own person's individuality. And this is like what Nietzsche talked about with, like, the will to power, And I really think that he was onto something there for the people who are not super religious. Now, if you're religious and you believe in God, go for it, man. More power to you. I'm not critical of the religious, but myself, I've had a very complicated relationship with what that means to believe in God and all that, and because it's so complicated, to sort of compromise my, deep thoughts about it. In the meantime, I enjoy the Nietzschean sort of philosophy where it doesn't necessarily matter. Like, Nietzsche was very much like amoral. Like, what is right and what is wrong doesn't necessarily matter as much as your ability to, assert yourself, affirm yourself, and your values will ultimately change the environment around you. The whole Übermensch kind of thing. And, I guess I'm like a nihilist. So, alright guys, I just realized that the card is full, so I actually have to stop the video, but whatever. If you're on the audio part of this, it's been lovely talking to you all, and I hope that you all have a splendid rest of your night. Alright, well, cheers.